In our quiet town, nestled between sleepy hills, a new chocolatier opened his doors just before Valentine's Day. His name was Mr. Ambrose, and his shop was a strange, dark place filled with the rich, heavy scent of cocoa and something else, something like old promises and forgotten spices. He was a small, precise man with eyes that seemed to hold ancient secrets. For the holiday, he offered something unique, something he called eternal love chocolates. They were shaped like two perfect, interlocking hearts, dusted with a fine, shimmering gold powder. He claimed they were made from a family recipe, a secret passed down through generations, and that they would bind two souls together in a love that could never be broken. The townsfolk, always eager for a bit of romance and local novelty, bought them with cheerful curiosity, never once questioning the weight of such a promise. The boxes were simple, tied with a plain red ribbon. Inside, the two heart-shaped chocolates rested on a bed of black velvet. The instructions were written in a delicate looping script on a small card. Share with your truest love. One heart for each. Let eternity begin. It all felt so wonderfully theatrical, a charming game for Valentine's Day. Young couples and old partners alike flocked to the shop. They laughed as they purchased the little boxes, imagining a romantic evening. They saw it as a gesture, a sweet confection to mark a day of affection. No one thought to ask what eternal love truly meant in Mr. Ambrose's dark, calculating eyes. They simply saw the glimmer of gold dust and the promise of a story to tell their friends over coffee the next morning. My husband Tom and I were among those who bought the chocolates. We had been married for 10 years, and while our love was steady, the initial spark had long since settled into a comfortable, predictable ember. The idea of something to rekindle the flame, even a silly piece of candy, was appealing. That evening, by the soft light of the living room lamp, we followed the instructions. I took one heart, and Tom took the other. The chocolate was impossibly rich, melting on the tongue with a strange floral aftertaste that lingered long after it was gone. We smiled at each other, feeling a little foolish, but also a little hopeful. It was just a piece of candy, after all. What harm could it do? We felt a warmth spread through us, a pleasant and comforting sensation we mistook for simple happiness. The next day, the town was buzzing. Couples who had shared the chocolate spoke of a newfound connection. They described a feeling of profound understanding, as if they could anticipate their partner's every thought. It started small and seemed rather sweet. A wife would begin a story, and her husband would finish it with the exact words she was about to say. A boyfriend would reach for a glass of water, just as his girlfriend felt a pang of thirst. People called it romantic, a testament to the chocolatier's magical recipe. They praised Mr. Ambrose, calling him a genius of love. The initial effects were celebrated as a beautiful miracle, a testament to the power of true love, enhanced by a simple, delicious confection. We all felt it, this strange and wonderful new closeness, and we wanted more. Soon, the charming novelty began to shift into something else, something unsettling that no one wanted to name. The shared thoughts were no longer just finishing sentences. It was deeper. Tom would come home from work, and I would feel the ache in his back from sitting all day, as if it were my own. I would feel his frustration with a difficult client bubble up inside me, a sudden and sour anger that had no source in my own day. At first, we tried to explain it away as profound empathy, a sign of how close we had become. We would marvel at it, saying, "It's like I know exactly how you feel," but the line between like and is was becoming blurry. The shared feelings were no longer a choice. They were an invasion. The physical manifestations were the most alarming. One afternoon, I was gardening and pricked my finger on a rose thorn. I cried out in surprise, and at that exact moment, across town in his office, Tom felt a sharp, stinging pain in his own finger. He looked down to see a small, red welt appear on his skin, right where my thorn had pierced me. There was no wound, no blood, just the phantom pain and the mark to prove it. When he came home and told me, a cold dread washed over us. This was not empathy. This was something else entirely. The candy hadn't just connected our minds, it had tethered our physical bodies in some impossible, unnatural way. Other couples in town were experiencing the same phenomena. A man who fell and scraped his knee found his wife limping with a sympathetic ache. A woman who burned her tongue on hot coffee caused her husband to wince and complain of a scalded mouth. The initial delight had curdled into a quiet, creeping fear. Whispers replaced the cheerful chatter. People started avoiding each other, afraid to share their bizarre symptoms. The control we once had over our own bodies was slipping away. A simple accident for one person became an injury for two. The bonds of love were becoming chains, and we were all beginning to feel their weight. Mr. Ambrose's shop remained open, but no one went near it anymore. The codependency became absolute. We could no longer have separate experiences. If Tom was happy, I felt a surge of joy, even if my own day had been terrible. If I felt a wave of sadness, he would find himself inexplicably morose. We began to resent it. I wanted my own feelings back, my own aches and pains. I wanted to stub my toe without Tom crying out in the other room. The intimacy we had craved was now a prison, forcing us into a shared existence we could not escape. We were losing our individuality, our very sense of self. The person I was began and ended with the person Tom was, and the line between us was fading into nothing. The horror escalated slowly, so subtly that we almost didn't notice it at first. It began with our skin. One evening, as Tom and I sat on the sofa, our arms pressed together, I felt a strange warmth, a tingling sensation where our flesh met. When I pulled my arm away, I noticed the skin on my forearm seemed smoother, the freckles slightly rearranged. I looked at Tom's arm, and his skin had the same unusual smoothness. We dismissed it as a trick of the light, a product of our growing paranoia. But it happened again the next night, and the next. The boundary where my skin ended and his began felt less defined, softer. It was like two pieces of soft clay being gently pressed together, their edges beginning to blur. Then came the nights. We would fall asleep separately, on our own sides of the bed, but wake up in the morning pressed tightly against each other. It was more than just a typical embrace. It felt like a physical pull, an unconscious magnetism drawing us together while we slept. One morning, I woke up and could not move my left arm. I panicked, thinking it was asleep, but then I realized it was entangled with Tom's. Not just tangled, but fused. A small patch of skin along our forearms, no bigger than a coin, had merged. There was no seam, no scar, just a single uninterrupted plane of flesh connecting us. We stared at it, speechless with terror, and carefully, painfully, pulled ourselves apart. The skin tore with a sickening wet sound, leaving a raw, bleeding wound on each of us. The merging became more frequent, the patches of fusion growing larger each time we touched for too long. We started sleeping in separate rooms, terrified of the unconscious pull that brought us together. We avoided touching, even accidentally. A simple brush of hands in the hallway sent a jolt of panic through us both. Our house, once a sanctuary of shared love, became a minefield of potential fusion. We were two separate people fighting a constant battle to remain that way. The love that the candy had promised to make eternal was now actively trying to erase us, to blend us into a single, monstrous entity. We were losing not just our independence but our physical forms. The psychological toll was immense. We looked at each other not with love, but with fear. Every glance was a reminder of the body horror we were facing. Was that my mole on his cheek? Was that his scar now appearing faintly on my knee? Our identities were bleeding into one another, our bodies becoming a shared canvas for this terrifying transformation. The promise of eternal love had become a curse of eternal presence, a slow and horrifying consumption of the self. We were no longer Tom and I, we were becoming a grotesque we, a singular being forged from two, and the process was agonizing. We were prisoners in our own home, held captive by our own flesh. We grew desperate. We tried everything to reverse the curse. We went back to Mr. Ambrose's shop, but it was empty, the windows dark, the door locked. He had vanished as quietly as he had arrived, leaving a town full of people bound by his terrible magic. We saw other couples on the street moving in eerie unison, their limbs sometimes stuck together for a moment before they pulled apart with pained expressions. Everyone was living the same nightmare. Tom and I tried staying apart, living on opposite sides of the house, but the shared sensations only grew stronger. His hunger became my hunger, my exhaustion became his. We could not escape each other because we were no longer truly separate. The final stage began, one dreadful night. I woke up with a gasp, feeling a crushing weight on my chest. In the other room, Tom was having a heart attack. I felt every agonizing second of it, the sharp pain, the struggle for breath, the terror. I lay paralyzed in my own bed, experiencing his death as if it were my own. And when his heart finally stopped, the pain in my chest ceased. But I did not die. I simply lay there, in the echoing silence, feeling the cold stillness spread through the half of my soul that had been his. The physical link, however, had not broken. I felt a coldness in my own limbs, a numbness that was not mine. He was gone, but he was not. I went to his room and found him on the floor, his body cold. But as I reached for him, a strange thing happened. The part of me that was him, the phantom limb of our shared existence, felt a pull. My hand touched his, and this time, there was no resistance. It was like touching my own skin. The flesh melded instantly, seamlessly. The cold of his dead body flowed into me, a permanent chill that settled deep in my bones. I realized the horrifying truth. The candy promised eternal love, a bond that could not be broken. Not even by death. His body was lifeless, but his presence was now a permanent part of me. A dead weight fused to my soul and, increasingly, my flesh. Now, I am never alone. I am a living person permanently attached to a corpse. We are slowly, irrevocably, becoming one. His dead flesh is merging with my living tissue, a slow, creeping necrosis I can feel but cannot stop. The love story has ended, and a horror story with no end has begun. The eternal love we were promised is this, an inseparable union, a shared body that is half living and half dead. I cannot escape him. I cannot die to be free of him, because his death is already a part of me. We are one being, bound together for an eternity of decay. This is the chocolatier's final, cruel joke. This is the true meaning of forever.